Hello everyone. Today we shall talk about the new topic, that is delivery, handling, storage and placement of geotextile. See, this topic is also important for the exam point of view. So delivery and handling, what it says that rolls shall be delivered in suitable protective plastic wrap. Each geotextile roll shall be wrapped with a material that will protect the geotextile from damage due to shipment, water, sunlight and contaminants. As you know that rolls we normally used to receive from the manufacturers for the different function, for the different purposes, right? So it should be delivered in suitable protective plastic wrap, right? So many points are there for the delivery and handling. Each individual roll shall show roll number, manufacturer supplier's name, grade supplied, roll length and roll width. So all these points should be written on the each roll. Rolls delivered should be checked to know product supplied as per the requirement. In case of damage, it shall be reported to the supplier immediately. That means whenever we are going to receive the rolls, geotextile rolls from the suppliers, it should be checked thoroughly that whether the supplier has sent the geotextile roll as per our requirement or not. We have to also check whether any damage is there. If there is any damage, we have to report to the suppliers immediately. So next point under the heading delivery and handling, lifting and movement of rolls should only be carried out using appropriately safety rated lifting equipments, hangs or prongs. Personnel involved in such operation should be aware of the dangers involved in incorrect handling. So proper handling should be carried out, right? And the person or the personnel involved in this work should know the effect of incorrect handling. Dangers, what are the various dangers involved if the handling is not correct, if there is no proper handling. Handling should always be undertaken such that fabric integrity is maintained at all times. That fabric should not be damaged. That should also be taken care of. Rolls are to be unloaded under the supervision of geotextile installer using straps or other devices that will prevent damage to the geotextile materials. That means proper care should be taken at the time of unloading so that there should not be any damage. If any material is found to be damaged during unloading, a notation should be made as to the roll number, location of damage and type of damage. Whenever the damage is going to take place at the time of unloading, so these points should be noted. Which roll number is damaged, where it has been damaged, and what type of damage is there. And this information should be provided to the project manager. So now the next components of this topic is storage. Rolls should be stored elevated off the ground and stacked such that the rolls are stable without damage to fabric and will not be cause of injury to personnel. Whenever you are going to store it, it should be kept at a elevated location from the ground. It should be in the stacked form. Fabric should not be damaged. So this point should be taken care of at the time of storage. Rolls shall be left in the protective plastic wrap until required for use. It should be, once you are going to unload it, then you have to go for storage, and it should be left in the protective plastic wrap itself until requirement for the use. So if you are going for its applications, then only you have to open the wrap. Otherwise, leave it as it is. If product is to be stored outside without cover, but including a plastic wrap for longer than 1 month, right? In that case, what we have to do? We have to protect it by covering with a suitable tarpaulin cover, right? It shall be adequately covered to protect them from the following: site construction damage, whenever you are going to uh, store it. So we have to also keep these points in our mind. What points we have to keep in our mind? To control the damage of the geotextile roll, site construction damage. At the construction site, damage should not be there. Extended exposure to UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation, precipitations. It should be kept in such a way so that these things should not damage, or the precipitation should not be kept in the rain itself. It should not be exposed outside. Chemicals that are strong acids or strong bases, flames, sparks, temperature in excess of 71 degrees centigrade, and other environmental condition that might damage the geotextile. So this at the time of storing the geotextile rolls, we should take care of these points. Otherwise, it will have impact on the strength, means tensile strength, toughness, and permeability of the geotextiles will be damaged or disturbed, right? So these points should be taken care of while storing the geotextile rolls, geotextile sheet. Now we shall talk about the another components of this topic, that is the placement. All rolls shall not be left exposed to the direct sunlight for periods longer than 3 days after removal of the porosity plastic wrapper. From the rolls, if you are going to remove the plastic wrap, right, it should not be kept in the sunlight more than the 3 days. When removing rolls from the storage for use in the works, each roll should be checked that the grade and roll lengths are correct for that section of the installations. Wherever you want to use these geotextile rolls, either for the function purpose, for the filtration purpose, or drainage function purpose, or the separation, or the enforcement, right, or the protection point of view, we have to check the grade and roll lengths, whether it is correct or not for the purpose where you are going to install, right? Exposure of the geotextiles to the elements between lay down and covering. Whenever you are going to spread the geotextile rolls at a particular locations, and after that you have to go for the coverings. So these works, that means after laying down the geotextile rolls and the covering, within 14 days we have to complete the work. Otherwise, the environmental conditions may damage the geotextile sheet. At the time of installation, geotextiles should be rejected and replaced if it is defective, torn, flawed, deteriorated, or damaged. That means at the time of installation, if you find that these defects are available in the geotextile sheet or rolls, in that case we have to replace it, right? We have to not consider for the installation. As we know that geotextile rolls or geotextile sheets are mostly made up of polypropylenes, and it is a degradable when exposed to ultraviolet light. Therefore, it must be ensured that the material is duly protected during transportation and storage by covering with the black PVC sheet. That means whenever the geotextiles are transported, at that time also we have to protect it from the exposure of ultraviolet light by covering the black PVC sheet. The sheets should also be covered with sand as soon as they are inserted under the railway tracks or spread on the embankment slopes. Whenever you are going to use the geotextile roll or geotextile sheet for the railway track or the embankment slopes, after laying down or after spreading, after inserting, then and there we have to cover it by the sand so that it will not come in contact of the environment. Next, we shall also continue for the placement. Highly porous non-woven geotextile must be protected from rainfall during installation. Otherwise, it could soak water several times. Its own weight, own mass or weight cause handling problems. It will become heavier. So if you are not going to protect the highly porous non-woven geotextile from the precipitation or the rain, in that case what is going to happen? It will absorb the water and it will become heavier. So at that time handling problem will arise at the time of placement. So at the time of placement, what we have to do, other works, the ground surface that receives the geotextiles, that means where you have to install the geotextile, should be prepared to a relatively a smooth condition, free from obstruction, depression and debris. These things should not be there at the site where you are going to use the geotextile roll or sheet. Geotextile used along channels should be placed with a machine direction of the material parallel to the channel. Machine direction means perpendicular to its manufacturing of the geotextile. Okay, so these things should also be understood. What do you mean by machine direction? Next, we can see in case of placement, if additional sheets are required to reach the top of the channel, the upslope sheet should overlap the downslope sheet. You can see the slope. This is the geotextile sheet. So we can say upslope sheet should overlap the downslope. So definitely it is overlapped here. The downslope geotextile is this one. Okay, and this is the upslope sheet, and this is the down slope sheet, so it should be overlapped properly. Geotextile is for 2 to 1 slope or greater should be placed with the machine direction of the geotextile sheets perpendicular to the top of the slope. The geotextile sheets should be overlapped in the direction of the anticipated movement of water. Suppose on this slope the water movement from top to bottom. That's why overlapping should be made accordingly. For example, on a field slope, the movement of water will be from the pavement. Suppose pavement is on the top, definitely. On the embankment, pavement is made on the top. So the flow of water from the pavement to the downward direction. Therefore, geotextile sheets should start at the bottom slope and proceed upslope. From the bottom slope it should be started, and then by putting the overlap it should go in upward direction or upslope. Next, we can see here, once you are going to place the geotextile at the site, so definitely we are going either for overlapping or pinning during the placement. So adjacent pieces of geotextile may be joined either by seaming or by overlapping, though in most cases overlapping is preferred. When geotextile sheets are overlapped, they must be pinned. So what it says that normally if you are going to use many geotextile sheet, overlapping is mostly preferred compared to seaming. The minimum overlap should be 450 millimeters. So here we can consider this is the overlap. Okay. When the geotextiles are placed under water, the minimum overlap should be 900 millimeters. This part is called as overlap. Now we can see here overlap should be secured by pinning. The secured pin should have the following specifications. Whenever we are going to use the pin for to fix the overlapping, in that case the pin should have materials. The pin should be made up of a steel The diameter of pin should be 5 millimeter, length 450 millimeter, and pointed at one end and head at the other end. You can see these are the pins. These are the pins. They pointed at other ends and the head at the on the top. A steel washers of outside diameter at least 40 millimeters should be used along with the pins on the top, right? On the top, that means nearby the head, we should also provide the steel washer. Securing pins should be inserted through both the strip of the overlap textiles, right? Both the strip of the overlap, both the strips. From here we have to, in the center also you can see. That's why it is written here. The pins should be placed throughout the midpoint of the overlap. The midpoint of the overlap. This is the overlap part. So in the center we have to go for the pinning. Now we can see securing pins should be driven until washer bears against the geotextile. The geotextile should be secured firmly to the ground. The geotextile should be joined such that placement of overlying materials will not excessively stress the geotextiles. What does it mean? The geotextiles should be joined in such a way so that whatever the materials you are going to put on the geotextile should not excessively stress the geotextile sheet, right? You have to put in such a way. It should not tear the geotextile, pull overlap. It should not pull overlap or join the joint apart. Construction equipment should not be allowed on the exposed geotextile. That means once you are going to lay down the geotextile sheet, equipment should not be kept on the geotextile sheet. Otherwise, it may damage. Placement of riprap or stone should start at the base of the slope, moving upward and from the center outward. That means whenever you are going to put the riprap on the geotextile sheet, right, along the upstream side of the embankment, in that case, the riprap should be put from the bottom, right, start at the base of the slope, moving upward and then center outward. We have to do. Riprap should not be allowed to roll down this slope. Otherwise, the geotextile sheet will be damaged. It should not be allowed to roll down. The height drop for the riprap should be less than 0.3 meter. Whenever you are going to put the riprap, it is nothing but the stones. It should not be, the drop height should not exceed the more than 0.3 meter. Otherwise, it may create the punching. It may damage the geotextile sheet. So this is all about this topic. We shall discuss the next topic in the next lecture. Thank you.